with LeoKeidran for Trauma Center New Blood. Now, I know for this run there was a donation incentive, and for that I want to read a final donation, which actually stole the show, from the awkward Hannah. Love me some Trauma Center, good luck Leo. And she went for the name, let me just make sure I say it correctly, Shamnk, so S-H-A-M-N-K.
All right, you might have to read that out to me again.
S-H.
Is it capitalized?
Yes, all caps.
All caps, okay.
Very
S-H.
important. A-M.
Yep.
N-K.
N-K,
So
all right.
a typo in the word shank.
Oh, Shamk.
Nice.
Shamk.
Okay, cool.
So
Nice.
good luck with your run.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm Leo. This is Double. We're going to be showcasing Trauma Center New Blood. It's the second Wii game in the series. And prepare yourself for some nonsense as I'm playing a surgery game with a Wiimote and nunchuck. It's about to get crazy. All right, if we're ready, then time will start about 5 seconds after I hit yes, so I'll count it in. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so the first thing to do is we're going to do an episode select skip, which essentially means anytime we finish an episode, we're going to skip all the dialogue at the end of it by hitting plus, the pause button, and then choosing to come back to this menu. We're going to also use text skip, just like in Under the Knife, and a lot of other games in the series. We now press minus to skip any bit of text, like this. And that's it. That's the text just flies by, so it's a great time.
You'll see a little skip thing at the bottom of the screen. So that shows that you're currently skipping the text. And as is usually the case with games like this, because of dialogue, we play in Japanese.
Yeah, so I got my hands on a Japanese copy of the game, and it saves about 20 to 30 seconds across the entire run, which doesn't seem like a lot, but given how much text there is in the game, it is quite a significant amount. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to suture up all these wounds and use this magic gel to heal up all these small cuts, and then I'm going to use the same gel to open up the wound there. This man's got some broken arms after a bear attacked him, hence why the weird cuts on his arm. I'm gonna slap in these bits of bone into this man. I would like to remind you, I am playing with a Wiimote.
Yep, so yeah, there's limited selection on the tools right now because it's the first operation, so they keep things simple for you. You only have the suture available to you and the stabilizer to keep the patient alive, the gel, and then the bandage to slap it on. We disinfect it here because the operation forces us to. From here on out, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're going to skip this step. Because the game lets you do it under normal circumstances. You just get a bad grade, and this is just plain old normal. We don't care about score or rank. Or anything.
There is another category called All Access, where you have to play the entirety of the game at the hardest difficulty, so on hard, and you also have to beat all the extreme operations at the end of the game, getting the maximum rank possible, which is XS. And in this game, XS is pure insanity. I feel like I could do it for the previous game in the series, Second Opinion, but for this game, it's just too much. The cursor sensitivity in this game is really odd, so if you decide to pick up this game casually, the first thing you're going to notice is the cursor is just really sensitive. I mean, I've got a blanket here to stabilize my hand, and I'm then like kind of resting it in between my legs. It's a weird setup. The things that we speedrunners do to ensure consistency is not to be doubted.
So our main characters throughout this game are the two doctors here, because this game also introduced a co-op mechanic where you can play with two players at once, two operations. And our main characters here are Marcus Vaughn and Valerie Blaylock. For the first few operations, we're going to pick Marcus because he's the default operation, as the only gameplay difference between them is their well-known magical anime superpower in this game called the Healing Touch. And at this point, we have neither available, so the fastest is just to pick the default option, which is always Marcus. Once we get the healing touches, we'll also only be picking Valerie if we specifically want to use her healing touch, because there's actually a difference between them, and we'll explain each healing touch as we unlock them.
Yeah.
I think it's the next operation that you get Marcus's, or is it two operations after?
I believe it's the next one.
1-4?
No, 1-3. So we refer to each of the episodes by their chapter number and then their episode number. So you can see this was 1-2. We're now going to be on to 1-3. 1-3 is we get introduced to our new assistant. Basically, I think we should briefly cover what's going on in plot. Basically, we're in some place in Alaska. We're just doctoring it up, doing some surgery every now and again, doing the routine stuff. We used to come from Los Angeles, but at the moment we've kind of escaped away to Alaska because we got sick of working in Los Angeles.
Yeah, Marcus is here for reasons that the story reveals later, and Valerie is here to literally just learn from Marcus.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
to get a healing touch of her own.
Yeah, so the healing touch, originally in the first set of games, it was explained that you get it from being a descendant of Asclepius, the god of medicine in Greek. However, it seems to be a little more relaxed in this case, where they've sort of changed it up a little bit. But I don't know, it still seems very interesting to me that Valerie discovers her own healing touch, as we'll find out soon enough.
Okay, here we have a big wound that we need to put a membrane on, and then put gel over the membrane to mold it.
Yes, this man's got a rifle round in his heart, which, rest assured, is not normal. Except his heart's going to flatline. Problem is, he's still got a bullet in him, so we can't really deal with that straight away. So first we've got to do all of that, then I'm going to pull back on the Wiimote, and let's get a defib here. This is a 1-frame window to get that green segment. So 3 frames overall on that entire defib.
Yeah,
So
out of all the games in this series, Trauma Set and New Blood has the fastest defib in the entire game. And some of the XX ranks that we mentioned before, sometimes they require so few defib users that you will need to hit the green mark on the first try, which is frame perfect. Now here's 1-4. You can see on the select screen that you only have Marcus.
Yeah.
So yeah, this forces you into Marcus because this is going to be showing his healing touch.
Yeah. Now you might be wondering, how does sort of co-op work with this? Essentially, whenever you play this game on co-op, you each get selected a doctor. Usually the way it works is when you speedrun this game, you have a dedicated person to pop the healing touch. You'll see soon enough when I then have to start popping healing touch myself, I'm going to have to draw a star. Trying to draw a star with a Wiimote, very precisely, is very hard. The DS games have it quite easy. They're very lenient. Their calculations are a little sloppier.
As you may have seen yesterday with me drawing Triforces on the screen and somehow getting that to work.
Unfortunately, I don't have that luxury. I have to draw a star. I'm going to do my very best to draw some clean stars. And there are moments where I will need the healing touch to pop at that very moment. And if I don't, it could result in some problems. So rest assured, I've done my practice. You see, I didn't get to choose Marcus here because we are forced into him. And you'll see, we're going to get the auto healing star here because of the game mechanic. So we get taught on sort of what's going on here. So Elena has, the new assistant, Elena, she's come all this way. She needs an update on a chip here. And essentially,
yeah,
we're just
on
replacing
this pump unit.
Yeah. Now we have a bit of a running joke that these are spark plugs, at least on my Twitch. You see, I'm draining all this blood here as I need to leave this one open. The healing touch pops. I then take this last chip. I slap it on. The pump's now done. I drain all the blood. And I slap some gel over the last few cuts.
Yeah, so this is also because this is a forced healing touch, because the game wants to teach you about it. This one also lasts for an infinite amount of time. That's not going to be the case when we do it manually. You'll have, is it a set amount of time?
Yeah, it's a fixed amount of time.
So in some games, you get the length of your healing touch is determined by the accuracy of your star as the game determines it. But for New Blood, it's a set timer that you'll get. But yeah, it is a timer. And Marcus's healing touch is fairly simple. It's the same as Derek Stiles' from the first game, Under the Knife, and its remake on the Wii, Second Opinion. It slows down time by roughly a third.
Yeah, I believe a third, which is really useful for us to skip cycles so that we don't have to deal with extra mess, or it's to reduce, to make it easier to hit something, as you'll see later on as we sort of get into the bosses of this game. Because yes, it's anime surgery with bosses. For now, we're just doing some more routine stuff, so, just dealing with tumors. This operation here is tumors as well. We get introduced to the inflammations mechanic. So essentially, we have to poke some blue juice, and it'll get rid of those inflammations. So we're gonna be pretty tight on that.
And as you'll see, he has a 1-pixel needle on the syringe that he has to aim at inflammations the size of a few pixels.
Yeah, so you can see here, they're pretty small.
Especially the small ones. Like the bigger ones are fairly okay. Of course, you miss those, because that's how that works.
It's a demonstration.
You get the hard things and you mess up the easy things. That's how it always works.
Yep. We now get introduced to the magnifier, so essentially we can now move and look around the operating field. This is slightly different from the previous games, where you'd zoom in and out. For this one, you get full control. It stays in a zoomed-in state.
It doubles as a camera tool.
Yeah.
You can you can zip the camera around the screen, and A fun little fact about how the ultrasound works in this game is you can see him moving the camera, and when you're moving it as a camera, you can already see things underneath it, and it's only when you press the button is that it does a proper search. But you can already see the tumors without doing the proper search, and in fact, to get a cool grade on removing the tumors, you have to do it without using the ultrasound proper. So just hover over, don't actually use it, and that's how you find it.
Yeah. That's going to be more useful later on, as some of the tumor positions are a bit weird. So I'm going to need a little refresher as to where it's located. As you can see, for this one, we now get revealed to Valerie. Now, plot-wise, Valerie's been struggling to sort of understand the healing touch. So we have this patient here that we're going to deal with. Her vitals are going to drop really quick, and Valerie's going to, basically pray that it's going to work. And you'll see soon enough that it does. So we'll get to that in just a second. You can see the music's gotten all dramatic as the monastery has collapsed while they're doing some construction work. And of course, a nun's in the monastery while they're doing work on it. The nunnery, not the monastery, I just realized.
Yeah.
That's an important distinction. You can see they're doing some work on it, and yeah, she's just there. We've got to operate her while she's still under the building for some reason. I don't understand that either.
Yeah, because it's like the things are stuck and it can't be moved, and it's like panic situation.
Yeah. So we're gonna deal with some big old blood, and I'm gonna make sure the vitals are sitting at a specific amount as the healing touch locks. So Valerie's healing touch locks the vitals in place, as you'll see in just a moment. So I'm gonna blindly just cut into the organ for these small cuts.
A lot of things in this game that are hidden under the surface of the organ, you're meant to find with the ultrasound, but almost all of them, you can just, if you know where they are, you can just cut wildly in place and find them. It works with tumors as well. I've got 4 vitals here.
That was close. And then the vitals are going to drop to 1. It is possible to sit 0 vitals when this happens, by the way, if you're already at 0 vitals, because as long as it's less, the vitals are more than 0. It will. The patient's not dead in theory, because this game runs on a floating value, a decimal value for pretty much everything, from the tool usage to the vitals. Just the way that the system works. And it means your vitals can sit anywhere between 0 and 1, and it will show as 0. That's quite a scary moment when this happens.
Yeah, I may have had a few close calls yesterday with that.
All right, so this one here, A1, is a trial operation. It has a set difficulty, and it has some extra caveats. We're skipping over it because we're just doing the any % normal category. And we have now come back to Concordia, or back to Los Angeles, to work for Concordia.
Because Marcus was contacted by an acquaintance of him from the past called Professor Lloyd Wilkins.
Yes.
About a mysterious thing that he has that the game will also reveal later, and because of that, Marcus feels forced to return, and Valerie comes along with them.
Yep, because they're sort of paired together.
The old guy with the monocle. That's him. That's Professor Wilkins.
That's Wilkins. What a guy. But yeah, we'll have to operate on him later on. You can see he's got a bed in his office as he's bed bound at the moment. But we come back to him a little later on in the chapter. Because first we have to deal with some tumors again. But we have an extra bonus. Do you want to tell us about that, Double?
Oh, the extra bonus. If I remember correctly, there's going to be pus
Correct.
in this one. So the tumors are going to be scaled up a bit in difficulty. They're going to spawn pus, and the pus, if you leave it around, will create inflammations where you have to draw from the syringe and then inject it, and that's all kinds of slow. So Leo's going to drain these, remove them.
There's the forced inflammation that we get shown.
And then he pops the healing touch here, and very nice that it was first try. And that's to, since everything that does things works on a timer, you slow down that timer by using Marcus's healing touch. So this gives us time to operate on everything and not have inflammation spawn. Again, caught wildly because we know where things are.
Just like that, that is all done. Imagine having a life-saving surgery to remove cancer tumors within 25 seconds. I can't remember what decade is this one in?
If only surgery was always that fast.
Yeah. If I recall, this game's set, so the original sort of series, so Under the Knife 1 and Second Opinion were set in 2018. Another Knife 2 was set in 2021.
Yeah, 3 years after.
Yep, 3 after. The Rosalia, no, sorry, Trauma Team, which includes Rosalia and the whole sort of deal behind that. That's in 2020. And if I recall, this game's set 10 years after.
After the first game, if I remember correctly.
So it's in 2028. So we still got a couple years. Maybe we can get some magic gel going and manage to just magically get rid of tumors like that.
Tumors, small cuts.
You know, just the whole shebang. So we're now moving on to Tutu, and we have to now deal with a young girl who needs a pacemaker changed. So I'm gonna do my best to go super real fast, as there is a set cycle on this. If I can skip it, we get to skip an entire defibrillation that we need to deal with, a heart massage. So I'm gonna focus real hard and try and get this done. But first, a heart massage.
Yeah, heart massage is different from the defibrillator that we've seen before. Is there will be a hand appearing, and when the moving guideline overlaps, that's when you press the button. You do that, I believe. Yeah, you do it. Yeah, you get a grade on it twice. So to succeed on it twice, then you get an OK, and after 3 OKs, the heart massage completes. Also, yeah, misses can be very costly, because certain misses will do damage to the patient.
All right, I'm going to wait for the defib here. We didn't skip the cycle, but I'd rather be safe.
Yeah, because a miss might have killed the patient if you were... Because if fibrillation is occurring, you have to wait for the defib. If you try to do anything, you get a miss, regardless of what you do.
And see, this is the extra fibrillation that I... the one in the middle is essentially a random chance. If you go fast enough, you can skip it. This one is a scripted one. So I was hoping to basically overlap the forced one with a scripted one. Unfortunately, the vials, they're a little too low for comfort. And I mean, realistically, it wastes about 10 seconds in total, so it's not a huge time loss. I can deal with that.
Yeah, because as you can imagine, spending time to put the vitals higher is slow. So we want to do that as little as possible, which means we work with as low vitals as possible.
Yeah, so get used to seeing vitals drop very low, especially in this operation. We're actually going to be using the Valerie's healing touch here because the vitals are going to be all over the place. But I'm going to do my very best to pop it. And you get to see a small trick that we do with buffering the healing touch. So popping it, we basically draw the star and wait, and then we let go of the buttons and it activates at the right time. We're also going to do it in a moment where you normally can't control the tools. So that's going to be fun. Basically, an accident happens, someone's spleen basically explodes. It's crazy. It's some things you just don't want to see, you know? You can see the vitals are going to start at 15, so quite low, but we'll be all right. If I recall, I got a defib right at the start. Yep. They're flatlining.
Yep, pick up all the bones here.
Alright, we're going to start reforming everything. If I recall, that goes up there, that goes down there, that goes up there, that goes there, and you'll notice that we're missing a piece. That's not good. So let's do another defib.
Yeah, which is actually caused by that piece we're missing.
You can see here, we're going to get a cut here, and I'm going to pop the healing touch.
Ah, there it is. So yeah, during the duration of this healing touch, you can see on the vitals meter, you can see the healing touch in action, where it has the brackets with the star keeping the vitals locked. And yeah, literally nothing can change it. Things that do damage cannot change it. Stabilizing doesn't work. The gel won't raise it. A frustrated player going to town with a scalpel doesn't change it. And as a bonus, when the healing touch ends, it gives a quick vital boost of 10 vitals.
Yeah, which is really useful. We'll need that later on. Notably, one exception to Valerie's healing touch that doesn't work is if you're doing a very particular brain surgery operation that we'll come to later on, that does not stop the patient from dying. Which I think understandably so, because, you know, the patient dying when you're doing brain surgery isn't dependent on their vitals dropping. It's dependent on, you know, their brain function. Anyway, we're back to Wilkins. It's time to do some surgery on him as we now deal with what's inside of him, which will reveal the first boss.
Yeah, so in the game prior to this, second opinion on the knife, the main disease you dealt with was called guilt, and it had 7 different strains. In this game, the disease we deal, you can see it on the chart, written on the chart, is stigma, which has 6 strains.
That's correct.
6. It has 1 less, but that doesn't make the game any easier. We're going to be dealing with the first one here, which is a strain called care, which is in a fair amount of ways similar to Kiriaki, the guild strain Kiriaki, where it's this, this little dude that's just swimming around on the organ and will try to make cuts here. Except one of the key differences is that it just takes extended laser exposure rather than a couple hits. And yeah, you also get to deal with 2 of them here. You also don't have to use the ultrasound to find them and cut them out. They just float on the surface of the organ.
You'll hear more than see that the laser's being tapped here. We're going to leave these 2 to merge as we then deal with mature care.
Yeah.
But essentially, yeah, I'm tapping the laser to keep the stigma off the organ. You can see it's basically just walking into my laser.
Yeah.
And this means that I can continually damage it without reducing the laser, because it does get a small amount of iframes every time I hit it. It also gets juggled around.
Yeah, a small amount of iframes, and in those very short bursts where you're not using the laser, you also get like a little bit of laser usage back. So you get also more efficient tool usage that way. Plus, it also comes with the bonus of when you're pushing care off the organ, care has to be on the organ to do anything. So if you push it off the organ, you can just stun lock it in place and deal with it that easily.
Yeah. Nice vitals, by the way.
Yo.
Right, so that was Care, that was the first strain of Stigma. It's probably the most straightforward, but this game, while each individual strain of Stigma isn't too difficult, unfortunately, this game likes to throw at you multi-Stigma patients, got the words out, as well as multi-patient operations. So we get a lot of mess, a lot of things going on. Since we've now dealt with the first strain of Stigma, something bad's going to happen. There's going to be a fire in the hospital, and of course, as is our duty as doctors who work on hearts, tumors. We do so much stuff that's not normal, but we then have to deal with burns. And dude, I'm not looking forward to the burns patient, man.
Oh boy, burns is a doozy. Some people like him, some people hate him, some people hate him more.
So to briefly explain the way that burns work, essentially we have to inject some culture into the skin. That way we can cut a segment off. We then need to put 4 segments onto the burn to then heal it. The problem with that is it requires drawing lots of straight lines and lots of vitals dropping. It's not a good time. So we're going to pick Valerie. And I'm going to do my best to go super real fast.
Yeah, so yeah, Valerie's healing touch is used here to stop the DPS from the blood and the burns being around. So yeah, we mix skin grafts here. On the surface of the skin, we have 12, an awkward formation, but not an awkward number. We have 12 pressure to work with, which is exactly enough to cover 3 burns. You can see the light ones are 2nd degree burns, and yeah, we just have to drain the blood, put 4 membranes on, and gel it all. But the black spots are 3rd degree burns, and yeah, we need to inject the coolant into it first, the blue vial on the syringe, and then have to excise that, and then you can treat the 2nd degree burn underneath. And yeah, the blackened flesh does the most damage, but it's quite the procedure to focus on it. So the priority is going to be on the 2nd degree burns, get those done as fast as possible, and then get the and then work on the 3rd degree burns. Also, yeah, you have to draw very straight lines to cut out everything in one swipe. Also, it's very important to keep the vitals in check, because they are going to be dropping now that the healing touch is gone.
I think it's also worth noting that if I drop one of these skin grafts, then I have to redo it entirely. I don't get to just pick it back up. It's gone. It's wasted. Also,
one thing you didn't notice, what can also happen is that as long as the 2nd degree burns are around, they can spawn new blood pools. We call them blood cycles, and if you haven't gelled the membrane yet and a blood pool forms, the membrane will fall off.
Yep.
And you have to drain the blood again and then replace the membrane.
Yeah. Now, since the last hospital basically burned down, we then went out of the job, Caduceus, who showcased in the first game, they now are basically recruiting us to work for them. They are at the forefront of medicine. They're doing the research, they're doing the surgeries. They also apparently are a general hospital later on, it seems, as we do more than just dealing with stigma. But because we dealt with stigma and because we dealt with something so obscure, they hired us because you know, we want to get involved. Now, the way that Marcus sees it is, as long as his paycheck is coming through, he doesn't care who he works for, which is I find pretty amusing. But Valerie's here all for the medicine. So we get to.
Is that why you dressed as him?
Maybe. We get to deal with one of our colleagues here, who has gallstones. Understandably, very painful. So we're going to do some real quick surgery to remove his gallbladder, as well as deal with those gallstones. Except I'm going to use the healing touch to make it go extra fast.
Yeah, so we have the gallbladder up there. He's going to wait for the first gallstone to spawn, then laser it. And to make the gallstones appear, you actually do have to use the ultrasound, unlike the tumors when you can hover over. Also, after every excision step, there will be blood and then more blood. We remove the gallbladder first. Very nicely done. To prevent any more gallstones from spawning. And he did it so fast that he finished up before the second gallstone even spawned.
Yeah, so we use Marcus' healing touch there to reduce that cycle. And it's the same deal there. So just, you know, go real fast and you'll skip cycles. A lot of this game is dealing with stuff before it becomes a problem. All right, so now we get to deal with an emergency patient. As I sort of mentioned, for some reason, we deal with normal surgeries as well, which I don't quite understand why, but I guess...
Yeah, Caduceus is supposed to be more of a research facility, but...
Apparently we just deal with like car crash incidents and brain surgery on the health secretary. Yes, that's going to be a thing in a minute. It's kind of crazy as to some of the stuff that we deal with. But then again, this is an anime malpractice simulator. You know, as you've seen, we've let patients' just vitals drop to stupidly low levels. So I feel like malpractice is the right term here.
Also, Leo is also making sure to stretch his hands and wrists in between, particularly the longer text segments.
Yep.
Because yeah, this game gets very weary on your hands. We've touched on it before, where with the difficulties of trying to do surgery with a Wiimote, it's sometimes been linked to trying to do real surgery with an oven mitt. And yeah, and this is also a considerably longer game than either Second Opinion or Under the Knife, so it also gets a lot more, a lot rougher in your hands. Yeah, taking care of your wrists is very important for this one as well.
Yeah, 100%. It gets, you know, the first 4 chapters, I want to say, are pretty tame. As we get towards the tail end of Chapter 5, my hands are going to start to feel it, my wrists are going to start to ache a bit. Chapter 6 is when it all kicks off, and it's going to be insanity. I'm going to do my best to keep on trucking, though, and that's why I'm stretching between each one. Now, this is a research operation. I do like this one, though in the speedrun setting, this operation sucks. I think now, since we got a little bit of break, if the host has anything to say, now's pretty much a perfect time.
Well, that is indeed perfect time, because I was just thinking there haven't been much donations, but I think that's because the people don't know what they can donate for. There's still one incentive open. We want to meet a goal of 250 euros, and you may have seen that there's a Link to the Past open mode randomizer, and the boss shuffle already has been met, the 150 euros for that goal. However, there's still an upgrade to an Enemizer. So both the items and enemies will have been randomized, and I know that will be a pain for the runners. We're already at 10%, so if you can make some donations can come to this, we can make those runners suffer as well.
Do it.
You can mess people up and you get to support a charity. Like, that's twice as good.
Yeah. All right, so we've got some heart occlusions. Now, if I'm not an actual doctor, just to clarify, but I feel like working on something that's moving, curses, that's not good.
Yeah, so if you miss...
I gotta reset that. It's fine. That didn't happen. Don't worry about it.
Right.
So
rewind. Anyway.
So
yeah, we gel the area because we have to, and then we get this vibrating membrane. And yeah, we use the healing touch to slow down how this guideline moves to make it to force it to be less precise than it actually is.
Here we go. Now, the thing is with those membranes, when we're placing those on to deal with the occlusions, it's very misleading. You think you want to let go as the... nice bandage there. You want to let go right as it meets. No, you don't. The game expects you to be late, in part because of the latency of the Wiimote, which actually is not that big. The latency is very minimal. But obviously, they designed it for more casual people in mind, so you want to let go a little bit later than you think. It's very misleading.
Yeah.
Okay, we now get introduced to, I believe this is our second strain of Stigma, Soma, which stands for the body. So each one does stand for a different name.
Yeah, so Guild, as we mentioned in the first game, had 7 strains, and they were named after the Greek words for the days of the week. Here we have strains related to, or for Greek words related to the body. We had Care first, which was the hand, and now we have Soma, the body.
Yep. So Soma's essentially just an auto-scroller. I'm going to make sure to keep very tight on these. So essentially, basically got this cloud of mass that we need to drain. We're going to drain it a couple times, and then you can see it's going to flash. I'm going to then laser it, and then once it's been lasered, we do that a couple times, and it's dead. At first, it's pretty straightforward. We just got to keep draining. You can see it's going to drop these red tumors I need to laser, otherwise they expand and become a bomb.
They solidify, and then you have to excise them,
Yep.
which is way slower as well. So you get these little pellets now that you have to drain before they harden, and then you have to excise those. But yeah, when you go fast, you can laser the core first and then deal with it. Now, after hit 3, there's going to be another little surprise. Once we drain all these pellets, it's going to reappear, and it's going to split in 2.
I'm going to drain the one that didn't flash green as it spawned. It's very subtle, but the one that doesn't, that you shouldn't drain first, also drops tumors. So, if you're not sure, casually, which one to go for, drain the one that is not dropping tumors.
Yeah, the one that drops tumors is the real one, and as I said before, the faint green glow that appears when they spawn, that's the actual core that you also see exposed here once it's fully drained. Because if you drain the real one first, the fake one is gonna explode into, I think, 5 of these pellets that he's draining right now. So that was Soma. It's a nice and friendly auto-scroller. It's pretty much the easiest strain of Stigma to deal with.
Yeah. The main difficulty, as I sort of mentioned, is each strain of Stigma isn't overly difficult. The main problem is when they get stacked on top of each other and they got other things going on with them. There are a few strains that straight up are harder, and we'll cover those later on. But for now, we're dealing with stuff that's pretty straightforward on their own, but when they get stacked with other things, it's going to just be a mess.
Yeah, and a mess it will be. You'll get patients that have multiple strains of Sigma at the same time. You get operations where you have to operate on multiple individual patients with a strain of Stigma, one after the other.
As well as both of those happening at the exact same time.
Yeah,
which we will get later on. So for now, we've got to deal with the health secretary. Or health secretary? Is it the health secretary in this one? I think it is.
I think so.
An important individual. He has some aneurysms in the brain. Now, as you can probably imagine, aneurysms where blood vessels are very sensitive, probably not a good idea to perform malpractice. That's why we're going to choose Valerie, so that we don't have to worry about the vitals.
Yeah, we're going to do the kind of malpractice that works out. So yeah, the aneurysms, you inject them with the sedative, then excise them, then pull them out with the forceps, reconnect the vein, or the vessel, reconnect the vessel, and then suture it. Seems simple that you can do it quickly enough, but as we go through these waves, more of them will spawn. It's about really ridiculous for a person to have this many aneurysms in their brain, but it's trauma center. That's the entire explanation. So boost the vitals. Yeah, because now a massive amount spawn at once, and yeah, there's gonna be a couple that are gonna burst.
Yeah.
Because it's faster to let them burst than to inject the sedative. Because the longer you don't treat them, the more sedative it takes to get them to the point where you can excise them. And see, that one burst.
There we go.
But it didn't do anything because we had Valerie's healing touch, which makes people immortal.
Imagine doing brain surgery within a minute. Getting all those aneurysms within a minute.
Yeah, and even letting one burst and nothing's wrong.
Yeah. So now we move on to Chapter 4, which, All right, ethically is a bit questionable. So we have to basically. There's this man here. His son has his appendix is about to rupture.
Yeah, appendicitis.
Yeah, so his appendix is about to rupture, and we're gonna have to deal with that. There's a small problem with that though, is that they don't have enough money. You know, this is based in America, so healthcare, and let's not go there, otherwise we get too political. But essentially, we trick a young man who also needs an appendicitis to be removed. To essentially pay money because he wants his, I think his surgery isn't expensive enough. He wants to flex to his friends that he paid like 10K for surgery.
Although the surgery is 10K and he wants to pay more, so
Yeah.
so Valerie does a sneaky thing where he secretly makes the rich kid pay for the
Less
poor
fortunate,
man's
yeah.
son's appendicitis.
So yeah, we'll have to do 2 appendicitis back to back. The first one basically is a tutorial on how to deal with it. So you can see it's going to be pretty straightforward. We'll just inject some stuff to sedate the organ, cut it out, then use these wires, pull it out, and
Put a wire around it and give it a good tug.
yep, basically. And then that's it. That's appendicitis done in 10 seconds. I wish it was that simple. But the second patient has complications. Of course, it's progressed much worse. You can see the vitals are much lower. And I'm going to use the healing touch to deal with all these inflammations and pus. Let's first deal with this. So this is what's causing the pus. So we're going to deal with this first.
Yep. As you see, as it got caught out, more pus spawned. Marcus's healing touch again to stop the pus from creating any more inflammations, because there's plenty already there. Now we just do a bit of poking. Poking stuff with stuff.
Yeah, a small reminder, I am playing with a Wiimote. I feel like I know I'm pointing this out a few times, but it's important to point out that I'm pointing a very, very small thing at a very small thing.
Yeah, I believe it is actually a 1-pixel syringe.
Yeah, it's incredibly accurate.
Luckily, the targets are a bit more than 1 pixel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still pretty precise.
Yeah. So now we move on to 4-2. I don't remember what this operation is. Oh, this is an emergency. Essentially, we're going to go on a little road trip as Valerie's seen this conference that's coming up. And it seems pretty exciting to her, so she manages to convince Marcus to go with her. They have to go all the way from...
I have no idea how she manages convinces
no
him.
They go from Portland to Florida, if I remember right. They basically travel a couple hours down the coast. And essentially, yeah, they're going to go to this conference. Small problem with that, as it turns out, it's a veterinary conference, which isn't all too useful for doctors who are working on human patients.
Yeah, we've now time skipped to the way back.
Yeah, so we're coming back
on
from
the way
conference. And as it turns out, there's a little car chase, and someone crashes their car. Us being doctors, we have to help out. Valerie's too stubborn to not let it go past. Funny enough, we went to a veterinary conference. I will touch back on that joke a little bit later on, as it is pretty important, as you all know.
Oh, yeah. It'll come in handy later, believe it or not.
Do you notice I chose Valerie? That's because the vitals are going to tick down pretty quick in a second. So we're going to go nice and quick.
Yeah, so... Yeah, this is one of the operations where it throws a lot of simple things at you to make it hard. So there's just a lot of these lacerations you have to suture. The large lacerations where you have to drain all the blood first, then close it with the forceps, and then you can suture it. And there's a bunch of internal hemorrhages as well. And yeah, there's a whole lot of nonsense that adds up in draining the vitals very quickly. So that's where Valerie's healing touch comes in very handy.
Nice. We're all good. Patient is saved. Yeah, you'll notice we're using the healing touch pretty much every operation. Simply put, the game doesn't lag out too much while we're using it. Atlas worked on the healing touch quite a bit more to make it a bit more friendly with the way it works. Yes. Now, okay, I can actually finally bring up the ethical comments about before. We're performing malpractice. It's a bit questionable. We're about to be introduced to a TV series that I'll let it play out here because it's just too good.
Wish come true, miracle surgery.
Yeah, so essentially what they do is they televise the live operation that's going on so that the patient in question can have surgery.
So this is Leo in real life, and there we have Leo in the game.
Yep.
With
So-
Dr. Leonardo Bello.
Yep. He's not the nicest of people. He slacks off Caduceus a lot, saying, oh, all their budget's going into stuff that's not important, not doing surgery that's relevant. We're about to prove him wrong. We're gonna go over there. We're gonna show him up to do 2 operations side by side of the same thing. No, I think that's the next time. That's the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one basically showcasing, what Caduceus is all about, and the fact we can do surgery too. We're really good at it. So one caveat to that is we didn't bring our own tools. We're using the tools supplied to us, and that's going to come back to bite us.
Yeah, they cheat.
Yeah, they
because,
cheat big time.
You'll see why in just a moment. So everything seems relatively normal. Yeah, we just have a bunch of tumors. Yeah, this doesn't seem like anything interesting. It's stuff we've already done before. A new thing that they introduced in this game compared to previous games in the series is that there's these little polyps that spawn when you excise the tumor that you have to laser, and then the hole that is left behind you have to gel over. You can see there's a lot of blood spawning, and look at the tool selection in the bottom left. Notice how there's no drain in the bottom right corner.
It was rigged.
They gave us shoddy tools, and the drain broke. So we have to just keep the patient alive while all this nonsense stacks up and drains the vitals, and wait for the drain to come back. Also, shout outs to the TV announcer that's constantly yelling at you if you're not skipping the text.
All right, I managed to do the one thing I need to do before this heart fibrillation kicks in. So we're going to massage the heart here.
We're working on the stomach, I believe. Yeah, we're working on the stomach, but yeah, behind the hand you can see a small shadow of the heart. So it's like we're actually doing massage on the heart.
Yeah.
And we're not massaging the stomach.
All right, let's strain all this.
Yep. Yeah, also popped Valerie's healing touch in the meantime. And there we go. We are done.
And that was miracle surgery. This is one of the most notoriously hard operations. Simply put, there's a lot of stuff going on. You're gonna need to balance it. You don't want the patient to die from you basically running out of the drain.
And if you're playing this casually and don't skip the text, as we mentioned before, there's this TV announcer constantly yelling at you.
Yes. So
now we get the 4-4, and Leonardo Bello literally tells you 1v1 me, bro.
Basically, yeah.
1v1 surgery.
And of course, Valerie can't back down from that. She's too stubborn for that. Now, you'll notice I changed to hard. Now, this category, the way that the Trauma Center series works is essentially the category you're submitting to is the minimum difficulty requirement. So if you're playing on normal, you can play on hard. And we're going to do that here to essentially allow the aneurysms to burst much quicker. Basically, there's going to be a lot of tumors we need to deal with. We're going to use Valerie's healing touch again. So you'll notice we're basically using Valerie for pretty much the entirety of Chapter 4.
Yeah, we use it in a similar way as we did before with the brain aneurysms, where we use Valerie's healing touch to tank the damage from the aneurysms bursting.
Yeah, except there's a caveat, because these aneurysms, I keep calling the aneurysms tumors. I'm now going to do it the other way around in a minute, aren't I? Where they're bigger than normal, and we have to do some extra nonsense to get it to patch up.
Yeah, so that's what this operation introduces. It introduces large aneurysms where you see 3 vessels. And you have to put this synthetic vessel on and then suture all 3 parts of it.
And I had to rotate my wrist for that, by the way, which
you have
is very difficult.
you have to rotate your wrist to put the piece in place properly. On top of that, it takes the large aneurysm has to grow a lot bigger before it bursts.
Yeah, but we are going to leave them to burst. As you'll see there, that one now bursts, so we're going to...
You can see how gigantic the one on the right is, and it's still not bursting.
All right, we're going to deal with this one up here. And now we're going to wait for these 2 to finish up, so there is still a little bit of waiting, surprisingly.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's... Yeah. So using the healing touch, that's basically 2 strategies you can do for this. You can do this, where you use Valerie's healing touch and let a bunch of them burst and take no damage, or you use Marcus's healing touch to slow it down so you can treat everything if you want to do it right. And I believe that's also what you need to do for excess, because aneurysm operations with excess is usually don't let any aneurysms burst.
Yeah.
So there's a fair amount of differences between like doctor selection as well. So
yeah, so the game basically
actual
has
routing.
Yeah, there is actually 2 ways to play the game, and we have to basically keep in mind as to which doctor we need to select. You notice I went back down to normal because this next operation is another Stigma, and we get Ops, which is the eye, and essentially.
So yeah, so what happens in the story is Leo has his own healing. Leonardo Bello has his own healing touch, as it turns out, which blocks out distractions. So he wins the 1v1. So we go back defeated, except we get a letter saying we send from someone saying we sent a little gift.
Not to be confused with someone.
Yeah, somebody sent a letter. Send a little gift, and it turns out that gift is the next strain of Stigma. Yep. Leonardo Bello, because Stigma is not known to the public yet, Leonardo Bello has no idea how to deal with it. He collapses, can't deal with it, and we're here to step in and deal with Ops. There's this big boyo in the center.
Yeah, so you're gonna notice I'm gonna basically be using the laser to burn through its health. We have to hit it 4 times before it then splits. And when it splits, it's gonna be a problem. I don't want that to hit. I don't want that to hit. All right, that's gonna hit. That's fine. Let me boost the vitals real quick. Just
yeah.
as,
So how Ops work is there's these cannons on the opposite side. On the ends, shooting nutrients. At the core in the middle, the red nutrients you need to laser, and the small ones you have to drain.
All right.
If they collide with Ops, then everything that's on screen will, or like there's these star-shaped tumors that will spawn.
There you go. There's one.
Yeah, they will burst when
deals
a
battle
nutrient
damage.
reaches the center. If it now you technically only need to drain the nutrients that are going to reach Ops. There will be some nutrients that will miss Ops, and you can just let those, when they reach the other end of the screen, they'll just vanish. And yeah, Valerie's Healing Touch was used there just to so we could focus on lasering Ops and don't have to worry about anything about the nutrients reaching Ops.
Yeah, we can just focus on lasering it and then waiting for the laser to come back.
Yeah, so yeah, the story that we skip here by episode selecting is that Valerie basically reveals to the world that there's a disease called Stigma out there that's very dangerous, and that at Caduceus we're doing everything we can to combat Stigma, find out about it, and eradicate it once and for all, which is a mission that is going to be very dear to Marcus later on.
Indeed, as there is a good reason. We'll find out at the end of this chapter, in fact, as to sort of why Marcus is so involved with Stigma and sort of what's going on there. But for now, we have ourselves a hockey match, and
yeah, we're just winding down a little bit.
Yeah, we're having a good time
after the whole miracle surgery.
Yeah,
business.
we thought, you know, it'll be a good time to go see some hockey. Except, of course, Thor Gunderson gets a hockey stick right into his bicep, which sounds pretty unpleasant to me. Like, that's not a good time. But fun fact, we're going to use Marcus here to essentially skip more cycles, as they're trying out a new anesthetic to basically take this guy under.
I forget if it's already approved or not.
No, it's not. That's why they're testing it.
So yeah, this is not proof yet, but try it out. There's the hockey stick. Just pull it out, close it up, and then yeah, reattach these ligaments. And for each, like you have these 3 segments of 4 each. If you miss at any point, then of those groups of 4, all the ones you haven't sutured in place snap back.
Yep.
But it didn't happen in this one because Leo missed the first one of the group, so nothing snapped back. So if you have to miss one, miss the first.
Yes, pretty much. It was nice and quick, fortunately, so no messing about there.
Yeah.
And I forgot about these operations. All right, we now have a smidge of RNG diced into this run. Essentially, this one we have one of the doctors here. What's her name? I can't remember her name now. There's too many names in this game. Essentially, her brother or cousin, basically, he's got problems with his liver.
Dr. Tsuji?
Yeah, Tsuji sounds about right.
Kanai Tsuji.
There you go. See, you're on top of it. I'm not. I just play the video game real fast, my guy. But yeah, basically...
totally didn't watch a playthrough of it on YouTube like last week.
But essentially, yeah, we have a burst liver that we need to deal with. So the way to deal with that is just to stuff it full of membranes and see what happens. That's what we're going to do. We're going to open up the patient. They're going to go into fibrillation, so we need to deal with that first. And I'm then going to try and focus here. There's a lot to deal with.
It also the flatline. There's also no fibrillation. The flatline just happens instantly. And yeah, the job is to nice. So the job is to suture. I've seen this go wrong in his practice the past week. So yeah, so you could already hear the rapid beeping from fibrillation starting to kick in. And yeah, yeah, what the goal was for that operation is use Marcus' healing touch to slow the cycle down, and then suture, put all the membranes on there, suture all the cuts before the fibrillation occurs, which he succeeded in.
Yeah, except you thought that was easy. This one is much harder. Unfortunately, this is where the RNG comes in. Essentially, we need to repack the liver again. I don't know why they didn't just do a liver block transplant at this point, but you know, essentially, all we have to do is pack the liver again. As
repetition.
We have to repack the liver again, and the small problem with that is that the blood is going to constantly be seeping out, and we need to basically slap it all in quicker than it seeps out. So again, we're going to use the Marcus' healing touch again. Fortunately, it's a little bit better. We don't have a fibrillation right at the start, and I can just focus on going fast. So we've got 3 cuts on the left here and 4 on the right that we need to do.
Yeah. So also some internal hemorrhages here that we exposed first. Yeah. Activate the healing touch first. Yeah, this is the RNG. Blood pools are just constantly showing up, and it is most efficient to just put all the membranes on first and then gel everything. But
Okay.
it does leave you at the mercy of RNG of blood pools reforming. There were a few there, but luckily they didn't undo too many membranes. So just drain the blood, put the remaining membranes on, and gel it all.
Yeah, the main problem is that if you get really unlucky and you then have to deal with the defibrillation, you have to defib the patient, your healing touch is probably worn off by then, and that's the biggest problem. So you didn't really notice it because the plot kind of progressed very quickly there, but essentially we got kidnapped while Dr. Suji was going to take us out for dinner for thanks for it. But nope, we got kidnapped, Lamau. So now we got to deal with
The Kidman family.
Yes, the Kidman family. So basically, they're the ones who are developing stigma, who are dealing with all of it, and we now need to do surgery for them, while they can figure out the next strain of stigma, which is Onyx.
So yeah, we're doing operations on these patients to keep them alive so they can develop stigma to make it uncurable.
Yeah. Of course, us being Caduceus, we know what to do. We know how to go real fast and deal with it.
Yeah, the strategy for now is just play along until we fucking find some way to escape.
Yeah. So we got Onyx here. We're going to select Marcus as it doesn't matter too much. Onyx stands for the claw.
Yeah, it's the claw. And if things don't go well, you'll find out why it's called the claw.
We don't intend on finding out, though.
Yeah, it's hidden somewhere, random.
Where is it? This is not good. Where is it? Well, it made a cut, so we now know where it is.
Yeah, that's why it's the claw. So yeah, it'll reburrow. But yeah, that's the biggest part of RNG with Onyx, is finding it the first time, because you can follow it along, and you can see it dive. You can keep the 4 lights on its body, and it will dive in a straight line. So it will disappear, and when it vanishes, it will be just somewhere along that line. So yeah, it's more or less an auto-scroller at this point.
Yeah.
A little bit of variance of finding out where it is along the line. And yeah, as you saw, if you don't find it in time, or if you cut a fake one, which is like the fake ones he's making with the 3 dots on them, yeah, it will do a star-shaped, like 5 lacerations in the star shape.
Yeah, the important thing here is to make sure that you count to 4 and be able to count 4 dots. That's the important thing.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, besides finding it the first time, Onyx was pretty simple, but we're going to be operating on the Onyx again in a little bit. I think it's 2 operations for now, 1 operation in between, then Onyx 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there will be another extra complication because Atlas doesn't know the meaning of enough.
Yes. You know, we seem to have it's 2 stages of each thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it helps. Essentially, usually the first one is a tutorial on how to get used to it, and then later on it gets more complicated. You just had a gunshot there. That was a shotgun going off. Jean-Paul Casey there, not doing too great, as now we need to patch him up.
He was one of the masked dudes from earlier, but he thought he had done his job within this organization, so he tried to split. And the Kidman family organization that are holding us hostage as well wasn't too happy about that, so they shot him.
Yeah.
And they basically just plop him in front of us and like save him or let him die. We don't care.
Exactly.
We're doctors. We're gonna save him.
So essentially, I'm going to have to deal with these shotgun pellets. The extra bonus to this operation is that you have limited gel. Now, for us, we don't really care.
And no stabilizer.
Yeah.
So
Now,
they basically take away all your tools to comfortably heal the patient. So yeah, you have one use of one set of gel. Once your gel does not replenish, and once it runs out, you don't get it back.
yeah. Generally, we don't really care though. I haven't even got it into the yellow yet, so we're fine. That's 50%. But it doesn't matter because we just go real fast. We only use the gel we need.
Yeah.
And it's time for Onyx Part 2. I'm going to take this moment to stretch my hands, as good lord, this game is intense.
Yeah.
Can I use this moment to read out a donation?
Yeah, of course.
Because I heard, and someone else heard as well, that you mentioned a certain someone. And indeed, someone donated €3 with the comment, I hope you enjoy my gift.
Thank you very much. All right, that was perfect timing as, yeah, basically, we've now been introduced to the bosses of the leaders, I guess, of the
Yeah, the
Kidman
guy
family.
with the pink hair, that is actually Kidman.
Yep.
He's like part of an underground mafia of sorts. And then you have this guy with blue hair who
He
looks,
seems,
looks vaguely familiar. And if you let the dialogue play, his voice will be fairly familiar.
yeah, I don't remember which doctor to select.
Yeah. So we get to deal with Onyx Part 2. Now the first couple hits are going to be the same as always. So open the patient as always. Also the gel, while not necessarily mandatory, nice quick find. While not essentially mandatory, you can cut without the without gelling, and it will just give you a bad grade, similar to putting the bandage on without disinfecting. It is very precise, and it's something you really should only do in individual level runs. So for consistency, we always gel it because the tool switching on the Wii is nice enough that you can just quickly do it. Now this is the complication: a giant web that is constantly draining the vitals. The nice thing about it though is that the ultrasound doesn't work, but you don't need it. As you see, we defeated Onyx. So yeah, all the Onyx are visible. Also, a little tip for you: if you're playing this at home and you're having trouble finding the real one from the small ones, tip number 1 is the ones outside the boundaries of the organ are always fake. Onyx is always inside the boundaries of the organ. So any 3 dots you see around the outside the organ, those are guaranteed to be fake.
Yep. Now the Kidman family are now sick of us. We've done our job. We've helped develop Onyx, and it's time for them to get rid of us. So
they want us to cooperate more, but at this point we say, okay, how about no?
Yep.
So their response is to...
Not yet.
I was too early on
Yeah,
that.
you're too early. So essentially, Marcus then, basically at this end of the chapter, Marcus finally reveals that he was the one who initially developed CARE. It was a bad lab experiment that went wrong with Wilkins. Unfortunately, Wilkins kept it. He kept going with the research, and Marcus walked away and went to Alaska, hence why he was there. He's now revealing this to his colleagues, and now they throw us into the basement full of water.
Lock us into a cage, and it slowly fills up with water, and they lock it with, I am not kidding you, a toy lock.
Indeed.
The Hyperlock 3000. Now, did you switch to hard?
Yes.
Okay, so we switched to hard because the solution is always the same, but it's different per difficulty, and the hard one has the fewest moves. Or the quickest solution for hard has the fewest solutions.
Oh, I didn't switch to this one. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so yeah, because of like intricacies like this is why we allow higher difficulties for lower difficulty runs. So for normal, you have to play every operation on normal or higher, and yeah, because easy is the lowest difficulty, any run, no matter what combination of difficulty you use, is valid for easy. And then only on hard you have to play every operation on hard.
Yep. So we're now back at Caduceus. The medical board here is discussing what to do about the organization, the Kidman family, and everything else, and sort of figure out what to do about this problem while we finally return back to work at Caduceus. Except pranked, there's another stigma.
Yeah.
It just doesn't stop, man. It just doesn't stop. This game is...
this one is also what the Greek word for it translates to is also very appropriate because the next train is going to be called Brachion, which is Greek for arm.
Yeah. And you'll see pretty quickly as to why once we open it up. Now, fortunately, this one is to sort of teach you how to deal with it. Now, we sort of mentioned the whole co-op thing with this game, is the fact that essentially you have two emotes, you can control two different curses and two separate tools independently. And it makes it really good because co-op runs are insane to run. You can see basically, one person's gels while the other person incisions. So it's nice and efficient. Problem is, Brachion is very difficult single player. And you'll very quickly see why. Because as we load in, you're going to see this. Here is Brachion, and you can see there's these LEDs essentially showing up, showing that when they get to the end of a segment, they're going to do damage to the patient or regrow the grappler at the end. Now, you can still see why this would be ideal for two players to deal with, because, one person can just focus on the lights, the other person can focus on extracting. But no, we are doing a single player here, so we're going to deal with it all as normal.
Yeah, because that's how you deal with the LEDs, as we call them. It's the toxin spreading that the core, the Brachion core, is sending. On the previous one and the last one, he waited with injecting a little bit, and he's probably going to do it for this one as well. Let it go through, because tanking one hit is fine, because you can also stabilize in between phases like this, and yeah, basically let the toxin through and then finish the injection. And to go back with the tips for casual play is to get maximum leeway with it is you want to pinch a segment, pinch the final segment when it's lit, because when a lit segment reaches a pinch segment, the pinch segment will expand and the toxin will get sent back. But if you do it with the light that is on, then the light goes back, but the segment stays pinched. It doesn't get expanded, so you can do it more efficiently that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the first Brachion. It's the easy one, because it's the first one.
Essentially, they're teaching you how to deal with it. It's still kind of, that one was a little safe. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't about to kill the patient, that stuff wasn't going to regrow. Because if a light reaches the end where there's no grappler, it now has to
and then the grappler will regrow and you have to extract it. So we're not at Caduceus anymore again, but this time voluntarily. We've gone off to the fictional country of Kuluruma, which is mainly known for having a mine where you can find the metallic alloy of Colurium.
Yeah, and as it turns out, Colurium is important for the use of stigma. It's how it works, how it's built, essentially. It's built off that. You'll notice Pepita there, the dog, has just growled. As it turns out, the dog knows about diseases, apparently, and it knows that there's something wrong with this patient. So it's time for us to deal with Colurium, I can't say the word, fever. And it's time for us to...
It's Vimase fever.
That's the one.
That's the term. So Vimase fever...
And
because we have this nurse that is she was in America but is originally from Kuluruma and has now gone back there to help out. But because she thought she'd be fine because she was from Kuluruma, she didn't get her vaccinations. So yeah, so she got some Vimase fever.
Good.
And yeah, it's it's a pretty simple operation. You have these tumors that are light up red and blue. Work on them when they're blue. Leave them alone when they're red.
Yeah. The cycles are just right that you don't have to use Healing Touch, but it is quite common to use Healing Touch on that if you're struggling with that. And oh boy, okay, all right.
Yeah, because manipulating around the cycles with Healing Touch is still faster than having to wait on it without.
And then potentially killing the patient, yeah.
And then the faster thing is what Leo did is to get all the cycles without Healing Touch.
Yeah. Now, we now move on to 6-3. Basically, we're going into town, or I guess the slums more realistically, to sort of figure out what's going on with Kuluruma and the metal in the Kuluruma alloy. And as it turns out, of course, there's stigma here. So it's time for us to showcase to the doctors here how to deal with stigma. So it's time for 3 patients of stigma. I'm not looking forward to it, man.
So yeah, this is all stigma strains we've seen before, but yeah, the problem with them is that you have to do them back to back. And multi-patient operations, if you fail at any point, you go back to patient 1 and have to do the entire operation again. So this is one operation where you don't want. So the first one we get to deal with here is Soma, which is fortunately also the easiest to deal with.
You notice I also picked Valerie, as we're going to need her healing touch, as we're going to employ one of the strats that we used earlier on in the run in the same way. So we're going to deal with Soma all as normal, drain it all up, deal with these tumors, make sure they don't expand and burst. And laser the core, nice and simple.
Yeah, lasering the core is simply because it's faster. It's not that you can drain the pellets, and if you're playing this casually, you should drain the pellets first so they don't harden, and then you still have enough time to laser the core, especially on the lower difficulties. Hard is where the cycles get really tight, and you kind of have to prioritize
Exactly.
playing it. But if you're playing this casually, it's recommended to do normal anyway. I play this game on normal first, at most, and then when you get comfortable with it and know the game, then you can switch to hard.
Yeah. All right, so that's Soma done, nice and easy. We now get to move on to Brachion. You know, we just learned how to deal with Brachion. Hey, it's time to do it again. Atlas, man. You'll notice...
Atlas doesn't believe you can do it after just once. They want you to prove it again.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you'll notice some of these strains of Stigma are located in very particular locations. You'll notice that Brachion is always going to be located on the kidney. That's because it's producing toxins. So flooding the kidney with toxins, you know, is a good way to shut down the organ. And that's generally the same rule that applies across every other type of Stigma and their location.
Yeah.
All right, so again, dealing with the longest arms first to give us the most breathing space possible. As Double mentioned, we don't really need to worry about vials too much. We can boost those between waves. Make sure that gets jammed up. And we're going to go nice and quick so that we don't get caught on that one.
Yeah. Also, I believe if you inject the purple medicine, if the toxin reaches it while it's deactivated, I believe it will be reactivated.
That is correct.
So so that's also why Leo waited a few times with finishing the injection, because if he finished it and the toxin would have gone through, he would have had to inject again.
Yeah. So it's funny enough, it does hold on to the amount of purple sedative that you poked in. So that's why we do wait.
Yeah, but like all the games where you have to do the full injection again.
Yeah. All right, so we now move on to Ops, which, you know, we dealt with at Miracle Surgery. It's time for us to deal with this on our own. And as Marcus jokes here in Japanese, is that, you know, we don't have someone barking into our ears all the time, distracting us.
Yeah, because if you remember, this is what we dealt with during Miracle Surgery when Leonardo Bello couldn't handle it. But even though Bello was down, the announcer wasn't. And yeah, also during the first ops operation, the first ops op, yeah, you get to, he's still yelling at you. So it's actually very specifically timed out to use the healing touch as it splits.
You'll notice that I was lasering the tumors. I was going a little bit slower. If you're really, really efficient, you can laser, you can pop. Sorry, you don't have to bother about lasering the tumors as they appear, the star-shaped tumors. You just want to sort of deal with ops straight away. But simply put, we don't for safety, especially in a marathon, as the worst thing that can happen is when it splits, right as you're popping HT, a nutrient hits the core and suddenly makes the tumor burst, and the patient dies, despite the fact the healing touch is active, because technically the damage is calculated before. Luckily, that is the first multi-patient operation done without any hitches. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that was really well done.
But it's time for some more RNG. So
and yeah, there's gonna be more multi-patient operations we'll have to deal with, or he will have to deal with. I'm in a very comfy position here.
All right, so yeah, we're going down into the mines to sort of get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, as much as I'm appropriately dressed for the occasion, I'm not participating in actually playing.
You're the nurse today.
I'm the nurse. Sometimes I'm the nurse, sometimes I'm the TV announcer yelling at you.
Or both. All right.
Both, yes.
That's Angie. That's Angie from the first game.
Yeah, Angie. Oh, I never put that together until now.
Anyway, so Pepita, the Doberman dog, has just been shot, unfortunately, and it's time for us to welcome her. Fortunately, we went to that veterinary conference, so we know how to deal with this.
Yeah, we're not actual vets, so we're just going to administer makeshift first aid. And yeah, eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that the point where you had to hit the defibrillator was in a different place. It was all the way at the other side, and that is because we're using the regular human defib on a dog. The solution was to just lower the voltage, and that's why it's there. Now, there's fibrillation occurring. Let it be random.
All right, no, I missed the cycle, so I'll go deal with these two. Let's hope I can get it.
Also, Valerie's healing touch is very useful because as we mentioned before, you can't do anything while the fibrillation is occurring, and you have to you actually just sit there and wait if you try to do anything is amiss. But if there's any wounds or anything around, the vitals will still drain according to the damage they do during the fibrillation. So you have to wait on that, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And on the more risky strats, that will cause you to be at like 5 or 4 vitals, and the vitals will just drain to 0 and below.
Yeah. Okay, right. Now this is
6-5.
This is the op that I've been dreading. This is 5 patients of first aid back to back. We've got burns, we've got bullets and shotgun wounds, we've got exploded ribs, we've got other general bits that we need to deal with, as well as some occlusions on the heart that we need to cut out. So we're going to go pretty fast, but I need to be really careful because, as mentioned by Double, if I die on any single patient, I go right back to the start. And let me tell you, trying to do burns multiple times is not fun. So I'm going to be taking this nice and safe. I'm going to leave it to Double to handle any kind of comments on here, as it's just going to be too intense for me to try and comment on this. So fingers crossed this goes nice and smoothly.
Yeah, so Valerie has been picked. We're going to use the healing touch. Starting with the fibrillation here. Hit the green mark once or hit the entire area twice. Trouble.
Oh, of course it was a green right at the end of all that.
Yeah, gotta love hitting the green on the second one when it doesn't make a difference from gray. It just makes like the window for the second one bigger. Vitals.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm gonna miss the cycle, I think.
Yeah, I'll just yell vitals at you when they get low.
All right, I'm gonna probably miss the cycle to get the one down there.
Yeah, just take it safe. Take it safe.
Yeah, so you can see it oh, it didn't blacken. All right, cool. I managed to get it.
Yeah, the second degree burns can blacken if you take too long to deal with them, and yeah, that's more mess you have to deal with. A lot of this game comes down to get good, go fast. Like a lot of just playing this game well or speedrunning it is just getting ahead of the problems that the game is trying to cause for you.
Yep, as once graciously said by Trojan, the Under the Knife 2 runner, who is, God, he's a machine. Just like Thurla, one of some of the other runners in this game, in this community, they are just absolutely insane.
Yeah, Trojan Rabbit is one of the runners in our community that mainly focuses on the DS games, just like yours truly. And he currently is the world record holder for the normal category in Under the Knife 2. And yeah, I want to give another shout out to Trojan Rabbit, honestly, because many of the GDQ runs alongside his GDQ run of Under the Knife 2 is what got me interested in trying to take on one of the traumas in the games. Obviously, me still being me, picks the game that's least recommended to start with Under the Knife 1, but hey, now we here.
We here?
Exactly. That was not intended, by the way. Yeah, now we get to this patient with the shotgun wounds and also rifle pellets, where, yeah, it's whenever you have to deal with a rifle, for some reason the bullet always splits in half, and you open the wound manually, then drain the blood, pull the bullet out, then you have to open it further to get the other half out.
Yeah, they need to work on making their bullets less lethal, which seems counterintuitive, but there are conventions for all this stuff. Anyway.
All right, patient 3 has a bunch of glass on their body. jab with the syringe to keep him happy. Yeah, more mess to deal with here. This is, again, another operation we've seen before, but just there's the extra pressure of having to do it in a multi-op setting, or multi-patient setting, rather. Yeah. Yeah, one mechanic that we haven't touched on yet is the little, like, floating blood of sorts that hovers over the organ that you use gel on. The bigger blood pools, the proper blood pools, you use the drain on, but there's the smaller blood spots that you can just use the gel on.
All right. Whew.
Also, to draw attention and explain a little bit about the UI, there's obviously the tool selection window at the bottom of the screen. You select the tools. So yeah, all this game, Leo has been selecting tools by using the stick on the nunchuck to select the tools, and then using the A and B buttons in various ways to actually use the tools. And yeah, we've also shown with the ops, when we deal with the ops strain of stigma, that tools have almost all of the tools have limited use, and if you use them constantly, at some point they'll run out.
Sutures, man, please.
Sutures are a little finicky sometimes.
All right, final patient.
So final patient. So you can see the. So yeah, so shout outs to the bingo card, to a couple bingo cards for this game that people have made, where the free space in the middle is burning out the laser on ops, because it's that guaranteed to happen. Also, I drew attention to the vitals bar earlier, like it is now, where you see the star of Valerie's healing touch that blocks the vitals from going anywhere. You can also see the heart rate monitor being frozen in place. So the vitals are literally frozen.
All right, we're done.
And that's the operation done. 6-5 in one attempt is in a marathon setting is
My hand hurts.
so
dude.
nice. It's so nice.
But hey, it wouldn't be Trauma Center an Atlas game without slapping even more difficulty on top of it. Because this operation we deal with multi-patient once again, multi-stigma once again, and we have to do a transplant of a liver.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have two liver transplants, and both of them are going to have two strains of stigma. And they're both going to be not necessarily different ones, but they're going to be different ones. The first one is going to have Care and Soma.
The first one only has Care, fortunately.
The first one has Care, and the second one has Care and
Onyx.
Care and Onyx.
Which, as you might imagine, Care is time-based. Essentially, it's going to make a cut. So is Onyx. Onyx works on cycles, where essentially it has to be ready to make a cut. So you need to find it before it does that. Problem with that is it's just so intense. There's too much stuff going on. So we're going to use Marcus Healing Touch to slow down time, make it a little bit easier for us on the second patient. First patient is just going to be pure skill, and I'm going to do my best to go super fast and safe.
Yeah, this is another one of the operations that's very clearly built with co-op in mind, because as you can imagine, it's much nicer to deal with two strains of stigma when you have two doctors working on it.
Yeah.
And something that people may have already put two and two together on, but we'll mention it, is that the game does not scale anything down. This operation is the exact same between single player and co-op. So, in a way, he's actually doing two-player, one controller.
At least in the game's eyes.
In the game's eyes, yes. But yeah, he's doing the operation made for two players by himself. So yeah, Care, this is the same as before, just constantly stun lock him by tacking the laser and push him off the organ so he can't do anything. You can even do it so bad that you can push him off screen.
Do you know where Care is? Because I can't see it. I'm struggling to see it. I don't know what I'm operating on.
Just keep hitting the laser and pray.
I think it's dead. It's dead.
It actually died off screen. Nice. But yeah, so the vitals bar is currently covered up by the vital warning sign because the vitals are low, but if you look closely, you'll see a purple bar, and then you see a little bit on the right of the bar that's black. So what that means is that the purple part is how far the max vitals go, the vitals cap, and then the black part is up to 99 vitals. So you can see the vitals are low, and I actually unintentionally picked a really good time to point this out, because as you connect these veins and suture them, the vitals cap goes up.
There we go. All right, I gotta prioritize Onyx here.
Yeah.
We'll just make sure that care doesn't go too rampant. That's fine. I can deal with one cut.
So now that the first wave of care is dealt with, he's going to pop the healing touch, as he mentioned before, to just have more time to deal with everything, because yeah, now there are going to be waves of 2 cares. Yeah, single care, then 2 cares, and then there's going to be another set of 2 cares that are going to fuse. And when we did care the first time, Leo mentioned that he was going to let the pair fuse, and that's not a thing that makes things easier or whatever. It's just it has to do. You cannot damage the care before it fuses.
Yep. It doesn't have a care in the world. I'm sorry. I had to get that joke in. Now where is care? Where's it gone? There it is.
Speaking of getting in, you have to get care back in on screen. Be able to deal with it.
Oh, that was awful.
Yeah, it also has this spinning animation when you register a hit on it.
But this is arguably one of the hardest operations in the entire game. There's just so many things you got to do. As Double mentioned, it's designed to be co-op. I'm 90% sure. So
yeah, especially casually. Like in speedruns, it's a matter of get good enough to just be able to deal with it. But yeah, this is definitely a considerable stumbling block.
So to say that I managed to do this first try is it's an amazing feat, I will admit.
Don't say that until the bandage is on.
I can say it now.
Now you're good.
Yeah. But that was
arguably
the hardest operation.
Yeah. It is, but yeah. It's more literal than you think, that an operation is not over until the final bandage is on, because missing with the bandage does damage to the patient. And it might differ between games how much damage it does.
5 consistently.
Oh, 5. It does 5 damage, and we mentioned the decimal values before. So if you're on 5 vitals, you're on 5 point something. So if you miss with the bandage, you sit on 0 point something, and panic happens. But if you're below 5, patient's gonna die.
Indeed.
Via bandage.
Indeed. All right, we're now into the final chapter of the game, and we get to deal with Rose Devereaux, who was part of the Kidman. She's like the mother of what's his name?
Of Kidman.
Kidman, yeah. She's got some weird tumors that every other doctor just can't deal with. So it's time for us to step up to the plate. And despite the fact she's essentially just she was the owner of the mafia, she's no longer part of it. And so Caduceus have finally kind of gone, all right, regardless of who you are, we need to do surgery.
Did you know why we're doing this favor for her? Because because as it turns out, there's this organization. So the big player that is actually causing like this stigma.
Oh, Colombian Kunix, yeah.
Oh, that's one of the good organizations, or one of the organizations that hasn't shown themselves to be evil yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, the organization that's actually at the main source of spreading stigma as the lights go out is called Parnassus, and they're led by a man that calls himself Master Farushti. But we have no intel on who they really are or where they are, except Rose Devereaux knows.
Yeah.
And she says, I'll supply you with information, but for me to do that for you, you have to do this favor for me.
Life-saving surgery, yeah.
And yeah, the favor is perform this surgery on me that no one else can. Now, she is a cigar smoker, and that's why you have a lighter to look at things when the lights go out.
Yeah.
And yeah, the tumors that we dealt with, they had these 3 veins that you have to sever and then remove them all at the same time. If you don't remove them all at the same time, they're going to respawn and you have to do everything over again. And it comes with a whole lot of vital loss and potentially death.
Yeah, I feel like I should point out, logistically, using a lighter to look inside of a patient just isn't feasible. You're going to burn the patient 100%.
Yeah.
Hey.
Surprised it's not a tool that on overuse causes burns. That seemed like an Atlas thing to do.
That would have been an Atlas thing to do. So, we thought we were done with the majority stigma.
Yeah, that's a medical board. That's if you fail an operation, that's who gets notified. But yeah, they're trying to figure out what to do with Parnassus,
Yeah.
and trying to find Parnassus's base and try to basically raid it.
And part of that is this raid coming up that we are involved in. We now have to deal essentially with 3 patients, again with different strains of stigma on top of each other. So we get to deal with that again. Doesn't stop. Atlas is not giving you any breathing space.
They do not let up.
No. But we're going to pick Marcus here. We're not going to pick Valerie. We're going to pick Marcus as it allows us to deal with Care much more quickly. You'll notice when I was doing the transplant, us zapping 2 Care at the same time, you know, flicking between the 2. I'm going to do the exact same strat here again, as it's just more efficient to do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and it moves, and the main reason, so we start off with Brachion here. The main reason you do you tap the laser on Care is just because it moves too rapidly. It's not like Ops where it moves slowly in a set pattern, so you can just laser it down and just hold it over and follow along.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it moves rapidly and erratically. It like turns on a dime, whereas Ops turns like a boss.
It also has a set movement. It will always move in a circle.
Yeah,
so.
it also yeah, always moves in a circle around the middle.
Safety pinches.
Yep, safety pinches are important. Don't let any grapplers regrow.
The worst part about Brachion is the fact that the faster you go, the more efficient you can do things. And so when you're learning to do this, especially as a speedrun, you know, you can do it at a set pace, but then when you get faster and you get more efficient with your tool switching and being able to do everything, you essentially have to relearn the entire operation. That's, I think, the worst part about Brachion.
Yeah, because the light cycles will be at different points, so you have to approach it differently.
Yeah. All right, that was the first patient. That was Brachion, nice and easy. We now deal with Soma and Care, which by themselves are pretty tame. You're gonna see I'm gonna use the healing touch straight away.
Yeah, and the healing touch, and he doesn't use the Leo doesn't use the healing touch for Care by itself, but it's just so he can deal with Care while there's another Stigma around, which is why he also used it when we dealt with Care and Onyx at the same time earlier. Yeah, this is the confusion I had earlier when we were talking about the liver transplant, where I mentioned Care and Soma at the same time. That's here. The healing touch runs out, so now we have to just go all guns blazing.
I'm gonna let the laser regen a little bit.
Yeah. Also, I believe the other variations of the smaller Cares have shown up at this point.
Yep, but we just never seen them activate, which is exactly how they should
Yeah,
be.
because there's something we haven't seen is there's 3 different there's different things Care can do. The smaller Cares, you have 2 types of them. You have one that causes lacerations. We've seen a few of them get through every now and then, but there's also a different type of Care where it will spin rapidly in place. Yeah,
Not like that. Not like that.
That's what happens when the thing hardens. Yeah, it will spin rapidly in place and scream, and that will create a tumor underneath the organ.
Yeah, and
That's
the final variation is it makes a large cut instead.
Yeah, that's what this one does, the Fuse Scare. That's one of the This is the other one, which is very dangerous because it does a lot of damage. Is these 3 double cuts.
Yeah, we're all good though. We're all good.
Whew.
I haven't
3
had
double
that
cuts
happen
in
in
an
a while.
asterisk
Yeah,
shape.
I haven't had that happen in a while. It's just the pacing of Care and trying to deal with it, along with Soma. Soma has a little bit of RNG sprinkled in with how much you can deal with.
Yeah. The best part is moments like this where it overlaps, so you're draining both at once.
Yeah. But we're all good.
Coming back to the co-op aspect of this is that a lot of the Stigma intricacies also theme themselves around co-op, where it splits in 2. Like Op splits in 2, so you're in co-op. You're intended to either have one person can take care of the nutrients while the other lasers, or have both patients laser each split core. Then with Soma here, when it splits in 2, you have one doctor drain the fake one, the other doctor drains the real one.
The real one always takes an extra drain, so you can drain them simultaneously if you're doing co-op.
Yeah, and then with 2, there's also 2 Cares, so one for each doctor to also laser.
Yeah. All right, we're now on to the final one, and this is Soma and Onyx. Fortunately, Onyx is located right there.
Yeah,
So
this is the only it's the might be the no, it's probably not the same in X.
Say again?
The position of Onyx. Is it the same in X?
I am not too sure. Funnily enough, I haven't done the X.
Considering how X difficulty is meant to be, I want to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're leaving Onyx at minimum health here. We're prioritizing Onyx, but we've left Soma on the minimum health value. So once we're done with Onyx, we can immediately expose the Soma core. So immediately get the final drain.
Just like
These are
that.
it. Okay.
And now we just deal with Soma again. Unfortunately, this op is really boring in the sense that, you know, you just deal with Soma twice. Not
Nice
particularly fun.
overlap. There we go.
All right. While we round this off, if the host has anything to say, this is a perfect time to do it.
Yeah, now's a good time. It's been a while.
There's no donations, but I do want to thank ESA for supporting the event and allowing us to stream on their channel. For information about their upcoming events and any changes due to the COVID-19 outbreak, be sure to check out esamarathon.com. And may I, again, point out that this mad lad is playing on a Wii.
Not only that, but he actually drained the real one first, which you could see it now that it's that the fake one splits into 5, but he was still able to drain every single pellet before it hardened.
I have no idea how I did that. That is honestly unexpected.
That's honestly more impressive than doing Soma proper.
I was too distracted, man. But it's fine. All right, we now get to come back to Wilkins. It's been a while. You know, he's been kidnapped. He, as it turned out, while he was kidnapped, like us, but unlike us, he did have surgery done on his brain. So he wasn't himself. He was acting on someone else's commands, essentially. So it's time to fix that by basically turning off the mechanism in his brain. Problem with that is brain surgery is pretty dangerous. I don't know about you, Double.
Yeah, it's gonna be really tough. But yeah, you may remember when Marcus and Valerie and Elena were kidnapped, and we alluded very badly to the gentleman with red hair was wearing a mask. That was actually brainwashed Wilkins. And he's still sort of brainwashed, and we're gonna do brain surgery on him to get him back to his old self. Except this patient is very delicate. The vitals are lying to you. You have next to no room for mistakes.
Which is why I'm gonna be really careful here.
Yeah, we have these pins of variable length, consistent, but variable length. But you know, it's random as far as you know when playing it the first time. But pins are always the same. So now we've deactivated the thing. Now we need to put these chips back. If you make one mistake, the patient, like Wilkins instantly dies.
Yep.
Those values of 80, they go down to 0.
Yeah.
And that persists even through Valerie's healing touch.
Exactly. All right, that's
surgery
7-3 done.
Yeah, imagine brain surgery being delicate.
Yeah. All right, so it's time for 7-4, and it's time for us to sort of get towards the conclusion of the game. You know, we have a little surprise as it's time for Derek and Angie from Second Opinion and Another Knife to appear. Come on, like on cue. 3, 2, 1. All right, I was debated. There we go. I was a little early.
Derek's new blood design is pretty nice. Angie's
not so much.
Not so much. I prefer long hair Angie, to be honest.
Ditto.
Even the Under the Knife 2 design, I would prefer over this.
Yeah, I gotta make sure to pick the right doctor, because if I pick the wrong doctor here, so essentially we're now moving on to Parnassus. We're trying to deal with them deal with.
But they have chemical weapons that they're using on the officers, which causes weird colored inflammations.
Yeah, detoxification is the medical term for it, supposedly. Essentially, I feel like it's tri-doxification, given that it's 3 colors, not 2.
Yeah. So this is a color matching game that Atlas deliberately turns into memory, because you have these colored inflammations that will show up, and you have the colors. You have to match all the colors, but you first have to inject this white to deactivate them all, and then you can inject it. So you see the colors, you remember them, inject the white medicine, and then match colors. Now they're gonna grow in intensity. There's gonna be more of them, and they're gonna grow as they are left untreated for longer. And now the music changes because it gets even more intense. And in a moment, Leo will use Valerie's healing touch to stop the damage over time that the inflammation do here.
Yeah.
And if you don't inject these all in time, they're gonna, I believe, burst.
Yep. This is the final wave. You notice that I'm being really careful with the syringe. You know, it's now in the red, so I gotta wait a moment. Poke it into the wrong one. Now I'm gonna wait a moment. Make sure it doesn't burn out. That's really important for this operation, is if you let it burn out, if you use it up, you're just waiting for ages for it to come back.
Yeah, one of the few moments where the game will legitimately test your tool
Yeah.
efficiency.
Yeah.
I was gonna say tool uses, but it tests the entire game.
Yeah, true. Okay, we're in the final two operations, 7.5 and 7.6. 7.5 is, and yet again, another bit of RNG. Shout out to Alice for just adding more RNG to the final part of the game. It's so frustrating.
So we had delicate brain surgery before. Now we have delicate heart surgery.
Indeed.
So we have a character that appeared before in the story called Cynthia Kazakov. And she is the girlfriend of a doctor called Ray Kerensky, who, for some reason, he's leading Parnassus and doing bad things with stigma and whatnot. And part of that is also him referring to himself as Master Vahushti. And he has implanted a chip inside the pump unit that we saw at the beginning of the game with Elena when we first unlocked Marcus's healing touch. And where's the heart?
Essentially what it is, we need to remove the chip before we can move on to anything else, because otherwise she can't leave the castle. She's immediately dead. So I'm going to pop the healing touch and go real fast. That was a nice star, I guess.
Yeah, the chip is basically Vahushti's death button. Basically, the actual terminology used in the game by Cynthia is that he has a shackle around her heart. And that's it. That's the shackle.
You're going to notice I'm going to keep cutting it. That's because although the vitals go down, they are locked when you get to defibrillation. So I can just keep working on it.
Yeah, when the heart massage or defibrillation starts, the vitals get dropped to a set value or lower if they already were below, and will start draining slowly at a set pace until you deal with the heart massage or defib.
Yeah, that was pretty. That was unfortunately bad RNG. We had an extra defib in there. That one can be skipped if you're lucky. But I managed to handle it pretty well by cutting out the chip before it got too late.
Yeah, because every flatline that is not scripted is always a 50-50 chance of whether it is real or false alarm.
Yeah. It's time to move on to the final operation.
Yeah, and
this is Cardia, which is the heart.
Now, warning to tech, as with my run of Trauma Center on the Knife yesterday, time will not end when this operation is done, because there is an epilogue we have to manually view to get to the credits.
Yeah, I'll count it in as to when time will be.
Once this operation ends, then you can get ready on time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have Master Vahushti here as Ray Kerensky, and he has the final and 6th range of Stigma Cardia, which is just literally heart.
Yeah. He's using it at the moment to deal with a disease that he's suffering with. I can't remember the exact thing it is.
Malevolent? No, not malevolent. Something diencephalic sclerosis.
Yeah, it's
sclerosis.
It's not great.
It's a diencephalic disorder.
Yeah, essentially, it's keeping him alive, but the problem is it's also making him insane, so we need to deal with it.
Yeah, so the first phase of Cardia is you have the Cardia core sitting on top of this membrane, on this set of membranes, and all the ones you cut out, you could pick them all up all at once when they're connected. You can pinch Cardia to make it move. Also, we gel the middle here like this to also manipulate Cardia to immediately teleport. Then it teleports onto nothing, it teleports again, and there you go. That's the quick way to do phase 2. Now we get phase 3. There's these red squares. You can see one at the top left. If Cardia moves on to that, it does a bunch of damage and lowers the vital maximum.
Yeah, which is less than ideal.
Yeah, it's something you don't want to have happen. We can tank one in case it were to happen. Also, yeah, if you pinch the segment that Cardia is on, we'll go back to normal. Yeah, gel it again, and then you excise it. Now the shell comes off, and we have to laser it a bunch. Now, this is a very anticlimactic final boss, because we have a quick kill for this. So we just have to laser it a bunch. This is one of the attacks it does, where it drops a bunch of tumors. Also creates a singular laceration with a blood pool you have to drain, and then it releases this ripple. Any of those tumors that you don't pick up with the forceps, they explode when the ripple reaches them. Yeah, this is the other attackers do just a bunch of lacerations. During this tumor placing phase, you cannot hit Cardia. You can only start hitting it once it stops moving. Now we activate the healing touch. You're meant to do this a lot later, but this is part of the quick kill.
You can see I've run out the laser, but that's perfectly fine. I'm going to hit Cardia with the laser. You can see it's now flashing. It's in its final stages. I'm going to keep lasering it while it spins around, and it is going to die. That is it. That is Cardia. Very anticlimactic, I know, but that is the quick kill for Cardia. I did it slightly slower for safety, but realistically, the best way to do it is on after the first hit, after you burn out the laser. It's very tight, and I've never been able to get it.
Yeah, so for safety, he did it after the second hit.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah, start getting ready on time. We're almost there.
Yep.
Yeah, the Cardia's final attack is dropping a massive ring of tumor and then releasing a ripple in the middle. Valerie's healing touch is the opposite way of doing it. Is where you can just let it all burst normally. Fun fact, people have calculated what it does. It does 750 vital damage.
Oh my god. All right, time's coming up in just a moment, so I will count it in.
When Skip disappears, right?
Yeah, it's exactly when Skip disappears, which is in... Well, let's wait for it.
Yep. So this was Trauma Center New Bloods. I hope you enjoyed it. Seeing some presented to you by Atlas Malpractice.
3, 2, 1, time. That's New Blood. That's Anime Surgery. It's probably one of the hardest games in the entire series, so yeah.
But you beasted it.
All right.
So yeah.
I think I'm all done.
Really well done. I've been double. I was happy to be on commentary for this, and also happy to have you had a commentary for mine yesterday.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm Leo. I speedrun Anime Surgery and Portal sometimes, and a few other odd bits. So I guess you can find my socials in the links and stuff. But over to you, host.
Right, thank you very much for that run. We'll quickly switch you guys over in chat for the setup of the next run by Paulister, which is Love 3. So please stick around.